Students, today we will see about few pesticides. The first group we will see about microbial pesticides. Don't confuse with the microbial pesticides. I won't be covering about the endomopathogenic fungi, the bacteria like the BT, viruses, etc. I will be covering about the pesticides derived from microbes, and with respect to and few other small groups which contains one or two insecticides each. The first group I will cover is Spinosyns, and Spinosyns is a group of insecticides which is derived from a soil actinomycete Saccharopolyspora spinosa. Saccharopolyspora spinosa, actually, this kind of microbial derived pesticides, usually whenever a bacteria or a fungi or any actinomycete or something, if we culture it in media, artificial media, it will release so many metabolites. That metabolites, the companies will screen it for several activity, medicinal purposes, agriculture purposes, etc. And Saccharopolyspora releases, if you go for fermentation of this actinomycete in artificial conditions, it will release 23 types of chemicals, and this group of chemicals released by this Saccharopolyspora spinosa is called as spinosins. And of these 23 spinosins, spinosin A and D, they are having insecticidal properties, and they are the major spinosins produced by Saccharopolyspora spinosa. This is a brief introduction with respect to spinosins as a group. And if you come to the pesticide derived from this, the metabolites released by Saccharopolyspora spinosa, the major one is spinoside. I told you earlier that there are 23 spinosins, and of the major ones are spinosin A and D. And the spinoside is a combination of spinosin A and D in the proportion 85 is to 15. So spinoside is a combination of 85 is to 15 combination of spinosin A and D. That's why it is called as spinoside A and D. And the spinoside is a translaminar insecticide. That means if we spray the pesticide on the upper surface of the leaf, the pesticide will reach on the under surface of the leaf. It pass through the leaf lamina, and the pesticide will be available on the under surface of the leaf. It's not systemic. It won't be translocated through xylem or phloem into the plant, other plant parts. It will be remaining on the other side of the leaf. That's why it's called as translaminar action. It is having some broad spectrum action, but it is more effective against lepidopterans, and it is very good against thrips also. So spinoside is a pesticide. Usually, if you see the recommendations, you can see it is mostly against lepidopterans and thrips. And it is also almost all the spinosin groups are having some activity against veterinary pests like flea sticks and lice. Spinoside is also having some activity against fleas, ticks and lice. It is blue labeled. That's why the LD50 is 3738 milligram per kg. And we have several trade names. One is Success. Success was one of the Success and Tracer. These two are the earlier trade names, and Tuffin is one of the newer trade names. But there are several trade names now. And you may be remembering the mode of action of spinoside. Spinoside acts on nicotinic acetylcholine receptor, but the binding site is different from that of neonicotinoids. Neonicotinoids bind to the acetylcholine receptor on a particular site, but spinoside binds to nicotinic acetylcholine receptor, but the binding site is slightly different. Coming to the use part, if we have two formulations, 45% SC and 2.5% SC formulations are available. But nowadays I have seen only 45% SC, but nowadays I am not seeing any 2.5% SC formulation available in the market. See the recommendations in chili, it is recommended against fruit borer and thrips. That's why I told you the recommendations are mainly for lepidopterans and thrips, and it is the dosage is 3.5 to 4.5 ml per liter. Normally it is recommended at the rate of 3.5 ml per 10 liters. And for cabbage diamond backmouth, there is a correction in that. You correct it. It's not 15 ml. It will be 1. Oh, okay. Sorry. It's 2.5% acid. That's why the dosage is 15 ml. I thought it was 45 acid. In cowpea potboros, that's a recommendation from our university. That is 3 ml per 10 liters. So it's a very good pesticide against lepidopterans and thrips. Remember, it is a blue labeled one, so we can easily recommend against vegetable pests. And the waiting period is also low, that is 3 days. Coming to the next chemical, that is spinotoram. Spinotoram is again a combination of two spinosins. These spinosins are spinosin J and L, but it's not the true spinosin derived from Saccharomyces spinosa. They have slightly modified spinosin J and L to increase its activity, so that's why it is called a semi-synthetic. It's not a purely synthetic one, it is semi-synthetic one. Similar to Spinoza, the activity spectrum is almost similar. It is translaminar in nature, effective against lepidopterans and thrips. LD50 is greater than 5000 milligram per kg, that's why it is green labeled one. We have several trade names, delegate trade in, but nowadays in Thrissur area, one new trade name is available, that is Summit, SUMMIT. So this the delegate and trade-in was the earlier trade-in. Delegate is still now available in our country. In Palakkad area, delegate is available. See, the usage spectrum of spinosad, it is available as 11.7% SC in chilies, recommended against fruit borer, thrips and tobacco caterpillars, lepidopterans and thrips. The dosage is 1 ml per liter, that is 10 ml in 10 liters, and the waiting period is 7 days. So this is with respect to the spinosins. We have two insecticides, that is spinosad and spinotora. Spinosad is a combination of spinosin A and D. Spinotoram is a combination of spinosin J and L. Both are translaminar in nature, effective against lepidopterans and thrips. Coming to the next group, that is avermectins. Avermectins, if you see the importance of avermectins, the importance of avermectins in medical field is more compared to agriculture field. And if you see in the case of agriculture field itself, it is widely used for veterinary pest management. So it has diverse applications. Avermectins is widely used. If you see the origin of avermectins, it is obtained from the fermentation of soil bacteria. Again, it is a fermentation product of Streptomyces avermectinius. Earlier, it was the species name was Avermetilis. If you refer many of the materials I have given to you, it will be written as Streptomyces avermetilis. But now recent literature, they have changed the species name as Streptomyces avermectinius. See the activity. It is active against nematodes, mites and insects. See the order I have given. It is first against nematodes. That's why it does most of the avermectins are extremely effective against nematodes. It has acaricicidal properties and insecticidal activity. And for the discovery of this avermectins, the scientists who pioneered the discovery of avermectins, W.C. Campbell and Satoshi Omura, they were awarded Nobel Prize for Medicine in 2015 because these avermectins were found to be an excellent drug for the management of river blindness and elephantiasis. River blindness and elephantiasis, if you go through the course of river blindness and elephantiasis, I think elephantiasis, you may know, it is caused by filaria. It is a worm. So, and river blindness, it's a worm. It is caused by Onchocerca volvulus. It is a nematode. So, for curing these river blindness and elephantiasis caused by worms or nematodes, this avermectins are widely used. And today I was watching news in television. I was hearing about the description of the usage of ivermectin. Ivermectin is a group, is a insecticide which we will come to it later. It is recommended, it is tested for the management of coronavirus. So that's why I told you it is diverse use. And one more thing you remember, don't think that each the first class itself I told you, It is the dose which differentiate it from a drug and a poison. So ivermectin, it is a pesticide for in the case of veterinary pest management, but the same ivermectin is a drug for curing disease, even worse disease such as corona. So the first chemical I will be discussing about abamectin. Abamectin is an ivermectin. It is mainly used in agriculture alone. Nowhere else it is used. Again, it is a mixture, just like spinoside and spinotoram. It's a mixture of two ivermectins, ivermectin B1A and ivermectin B1B. It is 80% it will be ivermectin B1A and 20% will be ivermectin B1B. It is an extremely effective acaricide, and see the LD50 is bit low. That means it is a toxic one. The trade name is Vertimac. The Vertimac trade name was earlier. It was marketed by Syngenta. At that time, the trade name was Vertimac. But nowadays, it is marketed by PA Industries, and I think the trade name is Abbasin. I forgot to include it. Abbasin, ABSCAN. And see the recommendation. It is 1.9 percentage is recommended for the management of mites in rose and apple. So it is widely used in rose for the management of mites. And a costly chemical, maybe about in 2009, 10 and all, from when Vertimac was first marketed in our state. 100 ml bottle costed more than 1000 rupees. So that was the cost at that time. So it's an extremely costly chemical. Dosage is 0.5 ml per liter. But since rose is an extremely valuable crop, the rose farmers, especially in the Ooty and all, they were cultivating, they were using abamectin at that time. Then coming to the next one, ivermectin. Ivermectin was the one which I discussed. It is now tested for the management of coronavirus. It is a semi-synthetic analog of ivermectin B1, just like spinosyn J and L for spinotoran. It is potent anthelmintic and insecticide. That means for management of worm, helminthic diseases. It is used for the control of ecto and endoparasites of cattle. If you ask any veterinary doctor if there is any severe worm infestation in cattle, they go for ivermectin injections. Ivermectin is an extremely costly injection, so if there is, they will go for ivermectin injection only if it is extremely severe. So ivermectin is widely used for the control of ecto and endoparasites of cattle. It's LD50 650 milligram per kg. The next most widely used ivermectins in agriculture is imamectin benzoate. Again, it is a semi-synthetic ivermectin. It's not completely pure ivermectin obtained from the culture alone. It is slightly modified, chemically modified. It is against stomach poison with translaminar movement. The activity spectrum is almost similar to spinoside, effective against lepidopterans. The trade name is Proclaim. Several trade names are there. I have given only one trade name, that is Proclaim. Its LD50 is 2150 milligram per kg. It is available in soluble granule formulation, 5% soluble granule formulation. You see, it is mainly recommended against lepidopteran pests of okra, cabbage, chili, and brinjal. In chili, it is also recommended against for the management of thrips and mite. See the dose; it is almost similar to the dose of spinosad, that is 3.5. It is SG formula, soluble granule formulation. That is why it is 3.5 gram to 4 gram for 10 liter of water. So imamectin benzoate still is a widely used pesticide for the management of lepidopteran pests. So remember one thing: we have several pesticides which are effective against lepidopteran. Usually, whenever someone is asked about insecticides effective for the management of lepidopteran pests, usually immediately we tell fluvendiamide and chlorantraniliprole. But if you have a situation wherein farmers are continuously using fluvendiamide or chlorantraniliprole, there is a chance of development of resistance. So we can go for rotation with spinosad, which is acts on nicotinic acetylcholine interceptor, ivermectins, which act on glutamate gated chloride channels. So mode of action is different, entirely different. So there is no chance of cross resistance. There is no chance of development of insecticide resistance. So remember all these things. It is widely available. We can recommend it to farmers. Coming to the next one, milbemectin. I have not seen this milbemectin in the market. It is again a semi-synthetic ivermectin having insecticidal and acaricidal properties. It is registered in our country, but I have not seen the insecticide in our country. Now we have completed the insecticides derived from microbes, the Spinosyns and Avermectins. Then we will move into smaller groups of insecticides. Then each group will be having either one or two pesticides. The next one is pymetrozine. Pymetrozine, chemically it is pyridine azomethane group. If you go to the Iraq classification, the chemical subgroup, it will be written as pyridine azomethylse. It is extremely effective against sucking pests. It is specific to sucking pests. It is systemic and translaminar action. The mode of action is it blocks the penetration of stylet penetration of sucking insects. So sucking insects won't be able to penetrate its stylets into the plant, and the insect will die out of starvation. So that won't be a quick death. The death will be slow, and the death will be due to starvation. So this is a unique mode of action wherein it's not acting on nervous system. It blocks the penetration of stylus, and so hence it is effective as the management of vectors of viral diseases. You can imagine, so you might have studied about virus vectors, persistent, non-persistent, circulative, non-circulative, and all. So in vector management, one thing you should remember is that if you are using a pesticide, say neonicotinoid, imidacloprid or thiamethoxam, it is systemic in nature. So you are using imidacloprid or neonicotinoid for the vector management of vectors. You have sprayed the pesticide. A whitefly or an aphid, which is a vector of a disease, of a viral disease, uh, uh, comes over to the plant, starts feeding. The insect, if the insect needs to get killed, it needs to insert its stylets, it needs to suck sap from the plant, and the insecticide present in the sap, once it reaches the insect body, then only the insect will get killed. This is with respect to neonicotinoid. I am discussing about neonicotinoids. But once the insect pierces the stylets and start the feeding process, the viral particles will be entering into the plant system. So, this kind of systemic insecticides may not be an effective strategy for the management of vectors. But take the case of pymetrozine. It prevents the insect from penetrating the plant tissue. So it's an effective strategy for managing vector-borne viral diseases. It is green label. That's why LD50 is extremely high, 5,820 milligram per kg. The trade name is Chess and Plenum. I haven't seen the chemical as such in our state. It is recommended for the management of rice BPH at the rate of 6 gram per 10 liters. It is 50% WG formulation. Coming to the next group, this is another group, flonicamid, belonging to the group pyridine azomethane, pyridine carboxamide, sorry, pyridine carboxamide. Again, it is effective against sucking pests. Similar to pymetrozine, it also causes the cessation of feeding by sucking insects. Sucking insects, once it is sprayed, it immediately stops feeding, and it dies of starvation. So the mortality is slow. It takes 2 to 5 days for the mortality of the insects. So both the insects, pymetrozine and flonicamid, having almost similar kind of mortality action on insects, but the true mode of action is slightly different. Then it is active. It is having systemic. Both pymetrozine and flonicamid is having systemic and translaminar action. This blue label, that is LD50, is 2000 milligram per kg. The trade name is Ulala. It is available in our state. It is in Palakkad. I have seen this flonicamid. It is 50% WG formulation recommended against rice, succumbus, BPH, WBPH and GLH at the dose of 3 gram per 10 liters. Coming to the next group, that is formamidines. Formamidine, we have only one pesticide, amitraz, and it is not at all registered in our country, effective against ticks and mites. It is acting on, say that it is a pesticide acting on octopamine receptors, agonist of octopamine receptor. We don't have any insecticide, only two insecticides, chlorfenapyr and amitraz acting on octopamine receptors. The action is unique, wherein the hatched larvae remain within the eggshell and dies. So that is unique. The hatched larvae remain within the eggshell and die. The next is diafenthiuron. Again, another group containing only a single pesticide, that is diafenthiuron. It is a thiourea insecticide. Some textbooks, if you ever heard some textbooks, they wrongly classify it as a chitin synthesis inhibitor. It's not chitin synthesis inhibitor. They confuse it because of the names such as diflubenzuron, chlorfluazuron, navaluron, etc. But it's not a chitin synthesis inhibitor. It's a thiourea insecticide, diafenthiuron. It has insecticidal as well as acaricidal properties. It has contact and stomach. It doesn't have any systemic property. It is having contact and stomach poison. As we discussed in the last class about pro-insecticides, this diafenthiuron again is a pro-insecticides, and it is activated to more toxic carbodiamide derivative by sunlight. So once it is sprayed and exposed to sunlight, the diafenthiuron will be converted into its carbodiamide derivative. You will see the structure and all in the next slide. And it inhibits, acts on oxidative phosphorylation, mitochondria. It acts on electron transport chain. You might be remembering the mode of action in Iraq mode of action classification. It is blue labeled one, is LD50 is 2068 milligram per kg. The trade name is Pegasus and Polo. There are several trade names, but the Pegasus is the one which is common in our state. It is marketed by Syngenta. Farmers widely use it. But diafenthiuron, one drawback is that if farmer go for slightly higher dosage, it leads to phytotoxicity, especially in cucurbits. So the dosage should be perfect, especially if you go for spraying in cucurbits. So you can see this is diafenthiuron. You can see that diimide derivative. You can see the structure in double bond C, double bond N. So that is carbodiamide derivative. See the recommendations. It is effective against lepidopterans as well as mites, against succumbus also. See, it is only pesticide which is having label claim for cardamom, thrips and capsule borer. We will discuss about label claim and all in the subsequent classes. So that means the Central Insecticide Board has approved only one pesticide, that is diafenthiuron, against for use in cardamom against thrips and capsule borer. All the crops, the dosage is 1 gram per liter. Coming to the next pesticide group, that is pyrrole group. It is having only one pesticide, that is chlorfenapyr. This is synthesized based on a metabolite dioxapyrolomycin isolated from streptomyces. Again, it is a pro-insecticide. It is converted into a more toxic form. It is a contact and stomach poison having insecticidal and acaricidal properties. Again, it is acting on electron transport, affects ATP synthesis. The trade name is Lepido and LD50 is 441 milligram per kg. It is available in 10%. This Lepido is available in the market. We have used this chlorfenapyr with for the work of Anusri. It was extremely effective against resistant tribulin castaneous. So it is a potent compound. It is effective against mites of chilies and DBM of crucifers at the dosage of 2 ml per liter. Next to another group, that is propargite. Propargite is acaricide which is acting on ATP synthesis. This is available in the trade name Omite. This is specifically an acaricide, so that's why it is recommended only against mites in tea, chili, and brinjal. It has some contact and fumigant action with an LD50 of 2800 milligram per kg. Uh, they it is recommended at the rate of 2 to 3 ml per 10 liters. So this is propargite is an acaricide. So here we come to several diverse group of insecticides. We started with Spinosyns and Avermectins. There were microbial derived pesticides, followed by groups which are single one, pymetrozine and flonicamid. They kill insects by starvation. Then we discussed about formamidine. Formamidine is not registered much in our country. Then we discussed about some acaricides which is acting on electron transport chain affecting the ATP synthesis. One is diafenthiuron, then chlorfenapyr and propargite. So this class I am trying to share it as a YouTube link so that you can go along with the slides whenever you are going through this. I'm trying diverse methods of teaching during this lockdown period. So inform me which one is more effective, the earlier one or this one, so that I can improve myself. So thank you. We will see you with next class tomorrow.